Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:02 PM. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So there is an amendment to tonight's agenda. We are not going to be going over item 6F. So with that,
Which one?
6F,
Not going over that?
No.
No.
it's not ready.
It's not ready for action, but I'm happy to give you an update. I can do that in my report.
In your report? Okay. Yeah, so go ahead and take it off. And then, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended?
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda as amended.
Second.
Oh, as amended by
who moved
removal
it?
of 6F.
Okay.
Did you get?
And then we had Scott second it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So agenda is approved. Presentations, proclamations, visitors. We have one person signed up. Mr. Dan Farrington, you can come to the dais. And just say your name and your or street residence for the record.
My name's Dan Farrington. I'm at 523 Northwest Heather Place in Sublimity. And I am the Republican candidate for House District 17. And I just wanted to come tonight. We made it through the primary. We're getting to all the city councils meetings now this month and next month, and starting to do town halls in each of the cities to have access to have conversations with the communities in your town. And we want to be transparent. We want to be available. And I brought some cards to leave for my phone number and email, so you can get a hold of me if you want to have coffee with me or lunch or whatever you want to do and have a conversation. I'd love to do that and get to know each of you individually. And if you have any questions, happy to answer that. And I know I've been pretty active in the state and right now with a drawdown, so been working with them a lot with that. And of course, our merger, which we're San Am Hospital and Salem Health. So we're actively learning more and more about that, what's going on. And actually, I tried to go to Salem City Council tonight for the data center, but at 5 o'clock, they weren't letting more people in. It was packed. So anyway, a lot of things on the plate. And I retired 4 weeks ago from work.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I feel that this is going to be a full-time job, and I want to be available and prepared as I go into the Capitol. So
You can leave your cards with the staff.
Okay.
And they will just let us pick them up if we want to.
great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our meeting's actually packed too. We have 3
Yeah.
more people than we usually do, so
This is like a pretty.
It's hard to find a parking spot.
Right?
that was great. Yeah.
Anyway,
We don't
Thank
have
you.
valet parking like Salem does, I'm sure.
yeah.
metal
I think there was
detectors.
more police cars. Anyway, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
I can take those, Dan. Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 3, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to item number 4A, council will now open public hearing on item 4A, resolution 08-26, amending the 2026-2027 fiscal year at, what time is it? 7:06 PM. We invite staff to present their report.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron Harding, City Administrator. This is basically a budget amendment for the purchase of the Bishop property at 7582 Bishop Road. That'll be part of our East Side Park ultimately. And just because of the notice requirements to do a budget amendment, we are gonna go ahead and move this forward tonight. Because we have to advertise it a certain way and we have to notice it 5 days to the public. And so basically, it's just the purchase price in, the purchase price out of the park fund. And so I'm happy to answer any questions. Other than that, as I alluded to, I'll go over what's happening with the property in more detail in my report. But if we can get this done tonight, if we do have to do a special meeting for the property purchase, we won't have to deal with the budget amendment.
Okay. Is there any member of the audience or in person or via Zoom that would like to submit their public comments? None? Does any staff have any additional comments?
No.
Does council have any additional comments? None? Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:08 PM and move on to council deliberations. Is there anything that council would like to deliberate over the motion? Okay. None. Is there a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 08-26, adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2026-27 and making supplemental appropriations for the park fund as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion on the second reading?
This is a resolution. It's just one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just one action.
So then we move on to.
Yep.
Okay. Item B. The council will now open a public hearing on agenda item 4B, resolution 07-26, establishing updated city service fees and policy for records request. We will go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:09 PM. Staff will present their report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. City Administrator Harding, again, I'm just going to go over the highlights and if you have any questions. So we set as a city what we call a master fee schedule, and it covers the different types of business operations that we have in the city. We started this amendment to the fee schedule really related to some of the new legislation related to like public information disclosure and how we treat and handle some of those documents. So if you look at this fee schedule, the first part of it is all about how we deal with public information now. And we went ahead and put it right into the fee schedule so that it was very transparent and folks could see it. And then Kirsty, who is our clerk, sitting to my right, she went through and formatted it. I know one of the things that council was concerned about was making sure things were very clear and understandable for people. So if you notice, the formatting is a lot more user-friendly than the previous one, which was really a Word document with like little number columns to the right. And now this is actually more like a spreadsheet format with explanations in each of the boxes. And so it's much more user-friendly. There are a couple of fee adjustments in here outside of just public records, what we're allowed to do with those. And I'll highlight the two main ones. One is the newsletter ad sales. As costs have went up from suppliers the last few years, what we found is we're actually losing quite a little bit of money on selling ads in the newsletter. So we're ending up supplementing a lot of those ads. So we had to raise prices. Black and white ads, specifically, I'll give you an example. We were selling a full page black and white ad. To print and mail that page, it was costing us about $140. And we're selling it for $75. So we went ahead and we had to increase those. The other thing that we did is we're going to discontinue free ads. We used to give certain service groups some free ads like the Health Authority and things like that. And we're just not going to be able to maintain our budget and continue to do that. So if you look at this month's newsletter, you'll see we did streamline a few things in there just to cut down on printing costs because the cost really is going up quite a bit. One of the things we'll do is we'll go back out and we'll shop costs for printing services, but I honestly just don't think we're going to see, we're not going to be able to make up that ground, even if we were able to find an eager printing house that would do those for us. So a lot of it is cost of postage has went up 3 or 4 times in the last, 18 months. And printing costs has went up. So that really is one of the main things that we've had to increase. Staff hourly rates, we haven't adjusted the hourly rates for call outs in probably 6 or 7 years. And so we went ahead and updated those to be current charges. So when a staff gets called out in the middle of the night, this would be like a non-emergency call out. It would be a resident called them out for something. It doesn't happen very often, but if it does and it's not a city issue, then we would end up charging for that call out. And we just need to make sure that we're charging the appropriate amount for what it costs the city. Otherwise, we're back to subsidizing somebody for an elective type service. So those are the 2 main things. The rest of them are pretty much in line with where we were with everything else. There might be a couple of slight changes to the public information requests charges to align with what other cities are doing. And in some cases, there's some limits in the state legislation. And so we had to memorialize those in there. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Is there any member of the audience or in person or via Zoom that would like to submit a public comment on this one? Does staff have any additional comments?
I have a question. I just wanted to say I really appreciate that, well, the comparison with 23 and 20. Very easy. Anything except those couple that you mentioned, and even those are, I think, very reasonable increases. So that was really nice. I'm not surprised that Christie did it. That was awesome. It made it just really easy to just kind of breeze through and see what.
That was. Right. If there are no further questions, I will close the public hearing at 7:15 p.m. Are there any further council deliberations? Okay. Being none, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution 07-26, establishing updated city service fees and policy for public record requests and repealing resolution number 09-23 and 04-24 as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did we get Scott online?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to number 5, old business. There is no old business tonight. Agenda item 6, new business 6A, the West Tech Engineering Contract Amendment. It says number 5. We will now invite Matt Etzel to provide information. Hi, Matt.
Hello. Thank you. Matt Etzel, Assistant Public Works Director. Before council tonight is a change agreement for the wastewater treatment engineering. The original contract was for the design work, and that brought us to bidding, which you guys will see proposals tonight that we received. From that point forward, this agreement or this change order covers services from West Tech and all their subs after we award the project. So a lot of the things that you'll see in the proposal and in the staff report are, this project is 18 months long at a minimum. So about 540 days worth of West Tech services. Chris Brigado, our city engineer. Our funding agency requires that there's an on-site inspector at all times while work's being performed. So West Tech has an employee that does that work. He is formerly a City of Salem inspector for many years, and he's going to be inspecting our project as part of this. We also several months ago brought you guys a proposal from and a change agreement to include Mark Walters with Water Dude Solutions. Mark's services that he's going to provide is he's going to develop the operations and maintenance manual for the treatment plant. He's also going to help with startup. So I'm the only one in Public Works that has any experience in activated sludge. It's a completely different treatment plant process. So Mark's duties are going to be, he's going to come in, he's going to train staff, and then he's going to write us like an operations strategies for the treatment plant and kind of give us a how-to book on how to run this new treatment plant. He's going to be around for about 2 years. This is after startup or right around startup, and then after meeting with us bi-weekly and going over changes, because there's going to be seasonal changes, changes in flows, changes in loadings. Those are all kind of things that we're going to have to ask questions. What kind of samples do we need to run? And he's kind of the matter expert on that. So his work is also included in this proposal. The city is having West Tech and their subs perform all the inspections for this project. So any geotech services, any structural, rebar, concrete inspections, those will all be done through this agreement as well. So I know that there's a little bit of sticker shock when you see the number, but there's a lot of work that led up to this point, and then there's still quite a bit of work that has to happen as this project's built out. So happy to answer any other questions you guys might have. And
I will just add that we're dealing with some large numbers, but they're all numbers that are within where we expected them to come in at.
Yeah.
So nothing's unanticipated. We already.
No, and the reason that it's a change agreement and not a separate proposal is because, again, the funding agency would like us or requires us to use the EJCDC contract documents, and instead of getting another contract approved and going through all the steps of another contract, their recommended path is these change agreements. So that's why we're doing it that way.
Hey Matt, obviously I've been out of the loop for a minute. Where are we at on the construction?
Sure. So the city's advertised, I think, a little over 45 days for the construction project. There is a staff report and some information about awarding the contract tonight. That's a little bit later on, but we've advertised. We've got a contractor that's put in a proposal that fits within our budget. We've kind of done our due diligence, and we're ready to sign contracts and get the project started. So
What would our target start date be to actually start construction? Do we have one?
Pending no funding agency approval delays, which we've been working pretty quickly to get them all the information that they need. We anticipate probably starting the end of August, early September.
Thank you.
Of this year.
Of this year. So like
Yeah.
That's
Fine.
yay, a few weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes me happy or like gives me anxiety.
I've never heard anything this year. Just good to hear it's gonna happen this year.
Yeah.
Well, they did kept saying
More.
2026.
Yeah.
We were hoping for July, but at least we got bids in July.
Yeah. So
Well-
that's where we're at, and that's the reason for this change order and trying to bring this stuff to you guys in pieces so you know and kind of together so you guys know the total project cost of what everything's gonna cost. And like I said, the original engineering contract. Basically, West Tech's provided design, they've advertised, they've done the bid tabulations, and you'll see a recommendation to award and later on in the packet. But they've given us all the deliverables up to this point for this, so now it's moving forward after that.
So council, just, I believe you each have a copy of the amended motions in your packet. I just want to make sure that we use the amended motion because we're still waiting for, I think, one of the funding agencies to sign off. And that's one of our contract requirements. And so a lot of the motions that you'll see tonight will be followed by pending funding agency approval. So I just wanted to note that in the packet.
Yeah, and we were targeting this council meeting for approvals just because if we wait a couple weeks, then it would push it maybe into October. We may miss, some good weather to get started and get up and out of the ground, hopefully. And so that's why some of these, like Ron said, are pending funding agency approval. We've started that process. We've sent all the documentation in that they've needed, but we're just doing our due diligence on making sure that all the funding agencies agree that everything lines up how we've said.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve CA number 5 for construction and post-construction services for the wastewater treatment plant bid package in the amount of $1,450,000 pending final funding agency approval as presented by staff.
We have a first and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Did we get Scott? I can't hear you, Scott, for some reason. I think I need a hearing aid.
I
Okay.
heard it.
You heard it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 6B, emergency generator transfer switch. Matt will continue with the presentation.
Okay, a few months ago, we let council know that we picked up the emergency backup generator from OEM. This generator is going to provide electricity for one of our larger producing wells in the event that we lose power. The generator was completely free, but we have to do some work to make sure that it can safely connect to the well that we want it to. And before you are, we went out and got 3 quotes to do this work. And Valley 5 is an electrician we use a lot in the city for smaller stuff, just day-to-day stuff. And they're really well versed in this kind of work. They've also provided the best price. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
So is it just a switch? I mean, what is it really?
Yeah, so it's a control panel. It's basically like putting in a brand new electrical service to the pump station. It's 480
That's wiring and everything. Not
Yeah,
just
it's
the
wiring and
switch.
everything. Yeah, it's called a transfer switch, but yeah, it's a lot of wiring. It's a can, a new control panel, and the generator produces 480 volt. Our well requires 480 volt. So that's a lot of power, and we want to make sure that we can our staff can hook it up without having to call an electrician every single time. So this generator, just as a refresher, it's a city's equipment, but since it was a grant through OEM, if a neighboring community has an emergency and we're not using it, they're allowed to come pick it up and use it at their facility. So it has some specific connections, wiring and stuff that came with it. And so the plan is to match that wiring up so we can utilize as much of the equipment and cables that came with the generator and then be able to use it on our pump house. So
Don't get to take our switch.
no. Yeah, they don't get to
They
take our
gotta go through
switch.
all that.
The switch stays.
Got to figure their own out.
Yeah,
Get
they got
their own switch.
Yeah.
It
lot
was
of
pretty
power
vague,
to
and I'm
have
sure
to
you
move
explained
from
everything.
one
Yeah.
panel to another.
Yeah, and if you'll look, the equipment's over half of that cost. I mean, so that
Right.
kind of tells you. And some of the other electricians propose a little bit different work, but really comfortable with Valley Five and what they've proposed. And I think it'll be pretty easy. It's nothing like getting a call out in the middle of the night. It's dark and you want something easy that you can just roll out and plug in a couple wires and be off and going and not have to worry about water for the community.
One must have had a misprint, Pacific.
Oh.
$1,650.
Yeah.
Makes me feel comfortable that you feel comfortable.
Good.
All right. If there are no further questions, is there a motion?
Move to approve the Valley Five proposal in the amount of $12,295 for the installation of an emergency transfer switch as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Being none, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 6C, update tag agreement.
Yes, so about a month ago, I think it was, or I guess in May, time goes fast. In May, we brought to you the tag task order for SCADA services for the wastewater treatment plant improvements project. At that time, their proposal was about $720,000. We also have gone through some finalizing of design through Xylem and Crofta, and they recommended some changes to some of the electrical equipment, including some variable frequency drives and some other telemetry programming equipment. This has increased the cost by about $100,000. And when I say increase the price, I should say it's basically just transferred the price from one contract to another. So if we would have signed the original contracts for the original amount that council approved in May, that $100,000 probably would have went to the general contractor and their electrician and had them pay for that work. So again, this is all within budget. When we got the approval from council, we wanted to make sure that council was on board with having our integrator do this work. Otherwise, we would have had to, at the last minute, put this work into the construction bid package. And so, again, it's an increase to the tag, but it's not an increase in the overall project cost. Again, happy to answer any questions you might have about it, but the other thing that we didn't have for council at the time in May was we had to convert this task order to the EJ/CDC contract format, and that's been done and it's ready to sign. So could have signed for the old amount and then brought you a change order, or that work could have been put in the scope of the general contractor and it would have increased their bid cost by at least $100,000. So, but now that everything's complete, we thought it was time to just let council know that there was a change in the price and that the contracts were ready to be signed.
Money Tetris.
Yep.
Are there any further questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the city administrator to award to and execute a contract with the Automated Nation Group TAG for the wastewater treatment plant project integration services in the amount of $829,084. Authorize the city administrator to take all necessary legal and contractual actions in connection with the same, and authorize the city administrator to execute change orders as contemplated by the contract without further council approval as presented by staff.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Being none, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 6D, Public Work Design Standards Updates. Matt will continue with presentation.
Hey, so a few months ago, we brought to council updates to the Public Works Design Standards. We do this annually, but just recently, effective July 1st, the Oregon State Legislature has made some change to the development rules, and it could impact public works infrastructure projects pretty heavily. So our city engineer, Westec, reached out to us and said, hey, we've made some changes. I know you guys just updated your public works design standards, but we really need to get these changes in to protect the city and protect your infrastructure from some approval processes that could be taken up with the circuit courts. So they have made those changes and put some language in our public works design standards. One of the sections is G7B, where they talk about the acceptance and talks about variances and application completeness. That wording has been highlighted in red, and those sections were added again to protect the city. Kind of a 5,000 foot level description of what would happen is if a developer came in, had a large development, and it took us more than 120 days to review the public works infrastructure part of that project. They could basically say we're stalling and take it to circuit court, and circuit court could decide for us whether or not it meets our public works design standards. There's a lot of things that have to be reviewed in those projects as far as hydraulics and impacts to our system, and we don't think the circuit courts are the best to do that. Our city engineers the best to do that review process. So this protects us. There was also a couple. There's always, anytime it seems like we open these up for review, there's always a little few clarifications or moving stuff around, but there's nothing that really changed in the public works design standards. It's just a little bit of changing format, making it easier so you can find stuff, so that we can find stuff, so developers can find stuff when they're looking through our design standards. So that's what's in front of you now.
Are there any questions? All right. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the updates to the 2026 Aumsville Public Works Design Standards as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 6E, wastewater treatment construction proposals.
All right, so the exciting one.
We can just go home now.
Before council tonight is a recommendation to award from our city engineer for the wastewater treatment plant improvements project. This is to help get our wastewater treatment plant in compliance with our ammonia limits and our MPDS permit. Council and staff put a lot of hard work into this, and we're ready to award a contract. We had, I gotta look. We had 6 bids for this project. There was a couple other contractors that were also looking at bidding it, but one thing that we found is the top 4 that were the lowest were self-performing all the concrete work, and the couple that kind of bowed out at the end were not. They were having subcontractors do that concrete work, and I think that kind of made the difference. They knew kind of that they were going to be high, and so they kind of stepped away at the last minute. But I think we got some really competitive bids, a lot of local companies, and you'll see we included, Kirsty made up a great budget worksheet. You'll see that we're tracking right where we need to be. I can tell you, our city engineer was super excited with his number that he gave you, and I won't tell you the format that he came up with it 4 or 5 years ago because it's kind of embarrassing, but hey, we were right where we need to be budget wise, and that's the great part. Kind of looking at the overall budget, it leaves us about 2% for contingency which is about $2 million, and then another about $3 million for the collection system improvements. And we kind of think that's right about where we're going to land. If we don't see the contingency money, it's even more of the collection system work that we can get done. So, yeah, the budget's tracking right on. We've come in a little bit low on the biosolids, and we're right on our number for the SBR and the treatment plant improvements project. So really excited that the numbers came in where they did with all the uncertainty in the markets and stuff right now. And we've talked to this contractor. We've done some reference checks in our due diligence, and they seem to check out pretty good. They're excited to start the project, and they said they've got crews that kind of just finished up the project and they're ready to go. So that's always a good thing too. So I think schedule wise or whatever, we'll definitely start some work. Hopefully they'll mobilize in the next 2 months, and you guys will start seeing some action out the wastewater plant. So happy to answer any questions you guys might have. Couple quick notes about if you're looking at the bid tabulations, you'll see the Xylem and Crofta contracts. Those are included. So those were previously awarded by the city, and those contracts will be taken over by the contractor so that they can organize delivery and installation of that part of the treatment plant when they're ready for it. It could create some conflict if we're still managing those contracts and they're ready for it and we can't get it to them in time. So they're going to take on those contracts. And
I think we talked about that when we awarded them.
yes,
That would be
I think we
happening.
talked about it when we advertised because it was
Yeah.
included in that. But yeah, so, and there's a couple allowances. I did talk to the electrical contract or the electrical company today, Pacific Power, and I think that number's tracking right on, or it might be a little bit high. The allowance for the electrical services, which was about $100,000. So I think talking to them today, I think we're well below that. But again, those allowances, if they don't spend all that money, they don't just get the money. We bill them separately kind of for those items. So yeah.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 09-26 to direct the city administrator to award to and execute a contract with J.W. Fowler for the construction of the wastewater treatment plant project in the amount of $17,748,328 in a form substantially similar to the document attached to resolution 09-26. Authorize the city administrator to take all necessary legal and contractual actions in connection with the same, and authorize the city administrator to execute change orders as contemplated by the contract without further council approval as presented by staff, provided all funding agency approvals have been obtained.
Second.
And I'd just like to make just a little comment before you adopt. So everything that we've done with this project is to try to keep it onto a escalated schedule and maximize our construction window, and which has been appreciated by I think the contractors, and one of the reasons why we were really got some really competitive bids back. There is a process, however, so the motion that you made is just so we don't have to keep coming back and then delay the process, but there will be an intent to award notice that'll be issued first, and then under state law, there's a protest period. If there isn't any protest, then we follow through, and then we do what's called basically the motion that you made, the award. We get the contracts together, execute them as assigned. But there is a little bit of a process, and I just wanted you to know we're not going to sign contracts tomorrow because we have to go through those steps first. But the intent is to keep the ball and the project rolling.
Thank you. So we have a motion, and we got a second. Is there any further deliberation? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Yeah.
I'm emotional, guys. Good.
Let's get some dirt flying.
Like my first,
Get to do this.
my first term, even before I took office, I was already making appointments before my term started. And I think at one point Ron had said, you can slow down. You don't have to. And I was like, no, we have to get this money. I just remember thinking, we
Yeah.
have to get this money. So there was a lot of
So-
nights.
Hello, my mic was not working right. I do have a concern about the deliberation.
About the what?
The without further council approval.
I can clarify a little bit on that, and if Ron wants to jump in as well. So, the motion language was language drafted by the city attorney. Ron kind of touched on it. It's so that we don't have to continue to bring back each state. There's a notice of intent, and then a notice of award, and then there's a notice to proceed. In the past with some of these projects, we've brought in each of those to council and asked for approval for those. This motion basically authorizes Ron to move forward with the execution of the contracts. Like Ron's kind of said before in the past, any change order we will bring to council, kind of regardless of the size, just so that you guys are aware of where the budget's tracking and what's going on. That's kind of why we did what we did with the tag agreement as well. We could have signed the agreement and done a change order based on the previous motion, but our goal is always to be as transparent as possible and let you guys know what's going on with the budget. And this language again was drafted by the city attorney to make sure that we cover our charter rules while also staying on a timeline that's consistent with our contract and the funding agency's approvals. There's a lot of windows. If we delay several weeks or 2 weeks for a meeting, and if there's not a quorum, we could miss a window and we could potentially risk, execution of the contract. Especially for a project of this size, the bonding is several $100,000. So the contractor really has to know whether the city's intent is really to move forward. And if we have to bring it back multiple times, it will delay them and cost them more money in the long run as well. So, but happy to answer questions if you have more questions about I think Doug brought the question last time about the change
Yeah,
orders,
he did.
and we,
Yeah.
like I said, we'll bring those change orders to council.
That's why we have the 2% contingency, right? That should cover.
We
Hopefully,
we have
anything of
some
the-
contingency built into the budget, but yes, all those decisions will be brought to council.
Yeah, a project like this, even if there's a change order request, unless it's something that would stop the progression of the project,
Mhm.
we're gonna bring it before we actually execute it. Projects like this, there can be change orders where it's in the middle of construction and we can't move forward, and those we'd execute within the contingency. But even if we did that, we're gonna come back to council and inform you of what's going on. This is a high profile project in the community, and we're in addition to managing the project itself, I'll talk a little bit more about the process in my report, but there's a lot to do for us. And so we're just trying to be able to manage it within the constraints of our limited staff.
I hope that answers your question, Scott.
Yeah, so if there's no concern with the rest of council, then my vote would be a night.
All right, moving on. We are done. We removed, item 6F. So Ron, thank you, Matt. Good job. Moving on to item number 7, which is the city administrator report.
Yeah, my report tonight's just going to be verbal. I just have a couple of things. I did want to cover the the purchase of the property that we're doing. We're simply just waiting for paperwork to be processed by the funding agency, which is a state agency. We've been approved for the loan, but we can't move forward. We can't really do anything until we get that paperwork. So depending on the timing, if it would be in the best interest of the city if we get it in between regular meetings to go ahead and convene a special meeting just to accept the money. You've already authorized the purchase, but the action will probably be to reauthorize the purchase and accept the money. So we've pretty much done the heavy lifting. It's really just about accepting the paperwork that we get from the funding agency. The terms are really favorable to the city. It's a state fund, so we get fairly reasonable terms. And once we get that paperwork, it would be my recommendation we convene a special meeting unless it's within, if it's within the window of the next meeting, 3, 4, 5 days, we probably would just try to wait. Once we get the paperwork approved by council, the contract and the resolution, there's a period of time that it takes for us to submit for the money and then to be able to receive the money. So we're kind of tracking backwards from our required closing window to make sure we still fit within that window. And we're just trying to do it as soon as possible. So that's kind of the update to that action item. If we get the paperwork tomorrow, we might have a meeting on Thursday. We're not gonna, I don't want to wait 2 weeks if we don't have to. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that, but that's it. We've done our due diligence. We know what we're purchasing. Everything's worked out as it should. It's just a matter of receiving that money. On to the wastewater project. I understand this is a big project and that it takes a lot of time with a project like this. And we had to go through certain steps, and we're still going to have to go through certain steps before the project's done. So just remember, we have biled solid removal, which is a separate project, which is underway. We have the construction phase, which after we jump through all of the state required hoops, hopefully we'll be able to execute that and get that going right away. Within that construction contract is our DAF and craft contracts. And remember, the DAF contract, we had to build in to the construction contract that has to be paid before the end of the year because that was that special ARPA money that came from our direct allocation from the federal government, and you have to have it spent by the end of the year. And so there's still a lot of those moving parts. We still have to get DEQ, what they call interim funding or construction funding. Our USDA loans do not fund at the construction phase. They pay off at the end of the construction phase. So just like if you were building a house, you get a construction loan and then you convert it into a long-term loan. That's basically the same thing. And DEQ is the funding agency that is assigned to do that. I still don't think, we don't have like an official approval. Yeah, we still don't have an official approval by DEQ, so we're still doing all those things. The contract that we awarded tonight, we actually can't execute until that interim funding is approved and that contract's in place because we would be spending money we technically don't have, even though it's in other places. We can't draw on some of it until that is approved. So there's just all these administrative things, getting through everything that we got through to this point. Remember the Buy America, Build America, that was going to really increase the cost of our project. And we spent some time getting that waiver, which is the reason why our project is under or at least within budget, but certainly it looks like it's scoping a little bit under. So we're doing all of these things because the council's objective at the onset was what we need to do to get this to the lowest cost to the community. And so that's why we're really jumping through a lot of these different hoops. Getting the funding approved before we even had necessarily a capital design put together. Typically, you do the capital facilities design and then you go out and try to get funding. All of that was designed to get the lowest cost to the community. We would have seen a lot higher loan terms had we not done one before the other. And so I understand that we're asking you to do some things that are a little out of sequence here, but it's because of it's because we're trying to do that as directed by council. So there's still a lot to do. There's going to be a 2-year construction window, and during that 2 years, there are all kinds of checks and balances that admin is going to have to deal with every time we do a payment voucher. It goes through a process where it's approved by the city engineer. And when I say that, sounds like a simple process, but there's a lot that is behind that. Prevailing wage reports and different things like that all have to be checked off. And then we send that to the funding agencies. The funding agencies have to approve that, and there are multiple funding agencies. So we're dealing with a group of people, and oftentimes, that can be difficult. And then the other part of managing this large project, just I know I've said this to council, but I want to make sure I repeat it tonight, is we're dealing with very large sums of money. And some of the funding agencies have different payment allowances within their contracts, but we're going to be dealing with payment vouchers for multi-million dollars that the city doesn't have in our checking account, right? And so managing those payment vouchers within the schedule and the time, getting them approved by the funding agency, putting in for those funds and trying to get that back in time to pay under the required terms of the contract, it's going to be a workload. And I just want you to be aware that staff will be tasked over the next 2 years with a lot of stuff. And it's not that other things are gonna stop. We're gonna continue to do other things, but just know, that behind the scenes, that is obviously gonna command our priority attention. So,
Ron?
Yeah.
So we've talked about all this money and everything with the wastewater thing. This might be a silly question. Maybe we've covered it, but this is going to go on for 2 years. It's all at the same lagoons that our wastewater goes into. Is there a point where it switches to the new system? We're still using the lagoons, right? And our wastewater is going to function as normal. At what point do you switch over to this new
yeah,
new system? We probably answered this, but I'm thinking
Yeah.
in my head, okay, all we're talking about is money, but it's a 2-year thing.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. I'll try to be super brief, but though we're kind of lucky the way our system's set up because we'll be able to continue. That's part of also the contractor's responsibility is that we continue to meet our permit and they allow us, or they don't screw up our system so that we can't meet our permit. So our old system will run through the construction. And yeah, there'll basically be a day where we basically turn a valve and it starts going to the new treatment plant and we start operating the new treatment plant. It's going to take a while for the biological action to happen and everything to get started, but it's great that we have, and we're not really taking anything out of our old system. We're just kind of expanding upon that. So we'll be able to continue to use that or divert if we have to. If the new plant, something's not right and we need some time to drain stuff and start over and try again, we'll be able to continue to do that through the old plant. And in our compliance schedule, it gives us about a year to have the new plant built and ready, and then a year, or I mean, there's a year from once it's the construction completed to when we start meeting permit through the new plant. So it gives us quite a bit of time to make that conversion from the old plant to the new plant.
Yeah, the other thing is our permit still only allows us to discharge to the creek during, I think it's a 5.5-month period through the year. So we still have to have storage capacity for even the water that we're treating. And so that's we're gonna repurpose, the lagoons will be switched over and used as storage once that treated water.
Yeah, and we wrote a sequence for the contractor that basically says, hey, these are when our lagoon levels are high, or this is when we experience high flows. These are things going to affect the construction process that you need to be aware of, and you need to put some money into your bid to consider, hey, you're not going to do the transfer piping in the lagoons in the middle of February when we're getting a bunch of rain because the levels are going to be too high. So there's a lot of that was given to the contractor so they could bid it that way.
Very good. I appreciate that answer.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, I want to thank our staff. Chris Bagato, our city engineer, has been phenomenal during this project. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not so sure how we would have gotten to this point without him. He really did do a service for the city, putting all of this together and thinking of things like that, like what's going to be the sequence of this, and trying to add those things all in advance. And our staff at City Hall, Matt's been fantastic. Matt knows this project. I mean, he's going to have a firsthand knowledge, I think, of every switch and valve, and because he's immersed in every aspect of putting together the bid scopes together, the capital facilities plan, the agency approvals. He's coordinating lots of that. And then our office staff, Kirsty, has been doing a really good job dealing with managing the terms of the contracts. And so, I'm just really proud. We're here, we're on budget. This could have been a lot of cities don't have this level. They get to this stage and find out they need double what they thought they needed, or they've got to scale their project down, and then maybe it's not even going to work, or they got to partially scale it down and get extra loans. And I'm just pretty excited, and we should celebrate that we worked hard for the community, and I think we delivered. And our kind of buffer portion of the project was the collection system. And it was one of those things where it needs to be done, but it didn't need to be done like tomorrow. And our thought is, if we came in cost overruns, we had some buffer there. And as long as everything goes right through the construction period and there's no surprises, we don't think there will be, but as long as there isn't, we'll actually get all of that done, which to me is just completely amazing, because we tried to add those elements of the project together just to give us some flexibility if we got to this point and things weren't as we expected, but they are. And we're doing a lot of hard work, and it's paying off. And I know you guys did a lot with the community outreach and with the some of the funding grants that we got in the legislature. It was everybody hands-on, and I'm just really excited. I'll be excited when we turn the switches on and everything's working. And that's, of course, that's the next 2 years worth of stress, and we'll get through that. And then hopefully everything works out good.
Yeah.
All right. Some other good news for council is, obviously we still continue to work for the city. We put in a grant with the small city allotment, which is ODOT. With their small city allotment program. And we were one of the successful applicants. We did receive a grant for $250,000. And as council knows, we budgeted some money in our street fund to go with this, to be able to do a project here in the city. I think 4th Street is the project. We'll be working with some of the property owners and trying to figure out if there's a cost share to any of those properties. And we'll work with the city engineer to put a bid scope together and a project scope for that. So I also did hear back from unclaimed properties today, as a matter of fact, two good letters today. And there was some unspent money from the previous nonprofit Corn Festival, and the city did put a successful application together, and I got a notice that those funds will come back to the city. My
It-
recommendation is because we did pretty good with grants this year, is that we go ahead and put that in reserve, like we did the extra funds last year.
So they
But,
were able to locate it. I know that they weren't sure where they went.
Say that again?
I thought they weren't sure where they went. Like they weren't sure where.
Well, they figured all of that out. It's,
It was a
at the
previous.
state level,
yeah.
it's hard to find stuff, but it's almost $12,000. So.
And that's gonna go into the reserve, well, when we get it, we'll. For the
Yeah.
corn festival.
What I'd probably do is.
When we
I'd
get,
probably
10 years from now, when we actually get it from the state of Oregon.
Yeah, whenever we get those, we are having to buy some capital, small capital things this year. So depending on where our expenses line out, we may buffer some of the nonprofits with some extra money, but I think we're on normal
That's good.
pace, and we should be able to do the same types of allocations we've done year after year.
Okay,
And,
the other one?
oh.
There were two.
Oh, well,
That
small
was-
city allotment and the unclaimed property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant there was two unclaimed properties, and so I was like.
No.
No.
All right.
And council may notice our little bridge project down at the park. It's in full swing. We think we're gonna be wrapping that up by the end of this week, hopefully.
The little covered bridge.
Before Corn Festival anyway. And it's looking really good. It's supposed to resemble kind of like a historic covered bridge. And just, kind of a little cool little project in the corner there. And that was funded. There will be some hardscape sidewalks that'll be put in as part of that. And was funded through the Marion County Prosperity Grant.
I will say we've been getting lots of interest from families during park asking what's going on over there, and they're very excited about it getting finished.
Thank you.
I still think it's gonna be the makeout spot for the kids. Like that's, it's a great idea.
We have a
but-
plan to put some cameras, so there'll be some entertainment value.
Better than just a random picnic table.
Right.
Post that in the newsletter, all the blank pages.
Is there anything else, Ron?
That's it.
All right. Anything for mayor and councilor reports? Nothing to report?
All I can say is MWAC's working on projects and approvals. It's an ongoing process since spring that we're getting close to ending, and GATS has a meeting tomorrow, but it isn't anything new other than approving projects that we've been working on through that too, which tie into a lot of MWAC stuff, so.
I'm gonna be going to the League of Oregon Cities Mayor Conference on the 5th, all the way in Ashland. So hopefully there's not any fires that's gonna prevent me down there. The 5th. 5th through the 9th. Is there anything for good of the order? I counted my weekends wrong in August. So this whole year, I've been complaining about not being able to Corn Festival because we have this conference the week of the 20th, not the week of the 15th.
So you will be there.
So I will be at yes.
Well, that's
Star Wars.
great, because I have 30 bags of candy in my
I was
office.
actually arguing with people at home saying, no, I have work. And then they literally pulled the calendar in front of my face to count. And I was like, oh. So, but I just thought you guys would enjoy that. I have been complaining about that for almost 8 months now, and I was wrong.
Have one meeting.
Give away all that candy.
I have
yeah.
I have no doubt.
But I still gonna delegate everything to Doug.
There's only one meeting before Corn Fest,
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's gotta get done. Somebody responsible's gotta do it.
I'm gonna try to dress up as Princess Leia. Anything for, we don't have anything for correspondence. There is no executive session. If that is everything, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:06 p.m.